everyone's attention, please. We'll go ahead and begin. All right, need a chair wherever. Take it here. Yeah, that's a free chair. Our afternoon session is going to be launching some professional development that's going to continue throughout the first semester for you. And so we're going to kind of get you started with that. But we want to first welcome you. It's exciting to see all the new faces coming. We want to thank you for choosing Springdale to teach in, and thank you for coming to serve our students. And that being said, we want to prep you with the resources and tools that you will need to best meet every need of the students that you will serve in your classrooms. So our focus today is ESL, English language learners in particular, and helping you to learn ways that you can best meet their language needs. So my name is Lynn Ryan, and I began in Springdale 20 years ago and am now serving as an assistant principal at Sonora Middle School. I opened that building. Prior to that, I was ESL curriculum specialist for all elementary schools and worked with the ESL department. With me, I have Jamie, and Jamie can introduce what she does with ESL.
So I'm Jamie Miller, and I have been in Springdale since 2001, teaching at Springdale High and HAR-BER High, and then now working at the ESL department. And my primary focus is professional development. So just glad to be with you all. There's no better place to be on July 30th than with new teachers. Truly, it's an exciting time, and we really see that it's like a privilege that we are assigned to get to work with you all this semester. So a few logistics. I think you all already know where the restroom is and everything, but let me go through the materials and just make sure that we all have everything. You have your handouts. You have either a couch potato or an aerobics instructor. Just want to make sure that you grabbed 4 books. There were 4 books. We are primarily going to be using this book today, The Better Learning Through Structured Teaching. Okay, and then the other books we will be coming back to. You also have your strategy cards. You can go ahead and put the ring in those strategy cards, and we'll be talking through those. Your ELDT, English Language Development Tool. We will also talk through that. And finally, if you'll pull out your agenda, you can see that we're here until 3 today, but then there are 4 more days this fall where we will be back together, and we're going to, later we'll show you how to sign up for these workshops. They will be all-day workshops, one in September, October, November, and December. And so that's going to be more training for teachers that are new to Springdale. So those are just a few logistics as we get started. Our norms, we just all agree to these that we will we'll start and stop on time. So we promise we won't hold you past 3 o'clock. And share the air. That means that make sure that you are hearing from your neighbor as much as you are talking as well. Everyone contributes, that your opinion matters, and we want to hear from you as well. Pull your own happiness wagon. So let's all just be professional and have a smile on our faces and be ready to learn. Be polite with technology. We understand if you need to have your cell phone out, especially if you have a 12-week-old at home. And hold each other accountable. So that means help your neighbor, really. If you get confused, like what page are we supposed to be doing, what's going on, then just ask each other for help. So those are some norms that we can all agree to. Today, this afternoon, we've talked through those training dates a little bit. We are going to give an overview of the gradual release model. And we have a resource the first 20 days. That's the article that you have a copy of. And we will also be working with our ELDT strategy cards and showing you some tools that are online. Like Lynn said, our purpose is to raise the achievement, especially for our L's. But as we'll see, the gradual release model is not just specific to English learners, that it will raise the achievement for all of our students. And we have been working with this instructional model since 2007, and so that is why we have built in these days for you. Since 2007, all teachers have been working with the gradual release model, so we really want to give you that firm foundation as an instructional model for our students here in Springdale. And we would also like to determine what instructional routines you plan to put in place with your first 20 days of school. That would be an awesome goal if we can achieve it. Here is some data that should derive what we do today, this afternoon. 45% of all of our students in Springdale are English learners, so that is our population. That means that just a little less than half of your students come from a home where English is not the primary language, and so we need to be strategic in our instruction. So we will continue to present more data in the summertime. That's about as far as we could get, where our total population is 45% EL.
All right, so as we begin thinking about starting to school and our students that'll be coming to us, we're going to do an activity and to get you thinking and get your background kind of there. First, I'd like for you to think about 3 things that you could do before you started to school, or 3 things that you learned outside of school that have impacted your education in some sort of a way. And so when I just think about my experience before I came to kindergarten, I know that I could write my name because I carved my name in my mom's sewing machine, her wooden sewing machine stand, and it's still there. And I know that I also learned how to skip, because my kindergarten teacher told my mother that I couldn't skip because I was too shy to do it for her. And so it was documented that I could not, but it was something that I could do before I started to school. And then I also learned how to talk and communicate my needs. And so those 3 things are things that I know that I learned outside of school. They're things that I brought to my school experience. And that's where we're going with our next activity, is looking at what our students bring to the school experience that is different from what other kids come with. And every child comes with experiences. And so we're going to do an activity on the Indian father. So if you'll look at the first handout page, purple page, the very top of it has a text that says, "Dear teacher." It's a letter from an Indian father to the teacher. So this could be some of the things that maybe a parent might write to you, and some teachers do this activity and have parents write letters about their own children. So what I want you to do is take first and just read this to yourself. When you finish reading it, write a couple of things that you know you learned outside of school, and then think about how that impacted your learning in school. Write down a couple of things that you learned outside of school, and it doesn't have to be before you started kindergarten if you can't remember something that you learned before kindergarten. That was a long time ago. Could be that there's something you learned that a teacher didn't expect you to have already known, and you had it. Could be that a teacher expected you to have it one way and you had it another way, but just something that you know you learned outside of school. Could be something your parents did to help prepare you for school. Okay, hopefully you have at least one thing that you've learned. Partner up with your shoulder partner and share what you wrote that you learned. Stop for just a second. Now I'd like you to go ahead and move into the next question. Talk to your partners about how this impacted your learning. So go ahead and shift from what you learned to now, how did it impact your learning? Go ahead and talk for a minute. Thank you. All right, so hopefully you are able to share with your partner at least one thing, and your partner shared something with you. And so what we're going to do now is a strategy called numbered heads together, and everyone in your table will need to have a number. So if y'all will number off at your tables and just decide who's 1 and who's 5 and who's 6. Okay, everyone has a number, and then on your table you have a letter that Jamie put down, A, B, or C, or that type thing. So what we'll do is, this is a strategy where you can first call the number, and then that number at that table has to get prepared with the answer from the table, and then we reveal what table is going to be answering for the whole group. That's called numbered heads together, and it is one that's in your cards and we'll be spending some time with. So with the Indian father, go ahead and let's choose number 1 is going to report back something you learned from your partner or yourself or an experience. And Jamie, you want to pick a table?
Table E.
Person 1 at table E. Okay.
So we talked about how we knew manners before we went to school and how to read, basic print concepts like how to sit on a lap and listen to a story being read and know how to follow the words in the book, and then how to take care of ourselves, like zip a zipper, tie shoes, and we said that those types of things help us to feel more confident and more prepared. Like I'm independent and
Yes, great, absolutely. Okay, so what we're going to do next, we have the Indian father and we have different text styles on it, and so we're going to read for the purpose of summarizing the what this passage meant. Why did we choose this? Why is this something that you're reading? So kind of what the meaning of it is, and do a gist, which is a 20-word or less summary statement on this passage. So we want you to read it one more time, but this time we're going to have you read it in 4 voices. So this is a strategy called reading in 4 voices, and your passage has 4 different text styles. So as you look at those text styles, numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 will do the reading, and each of you can choose a text style to read from. Figure that out, and then read it aloud, and then when you get finished reading, write a 20-word or less summary statement of the meaning behind this passage, what you got from the passage as a group. So go ahead and start now, and you'll have about 3 minutes to get this. So after you finish reading, yes, you can just write, one person from your team can write the summary statement, just that work together, yes. One summary statement for the whole group. All right. Person number 5, clarify your summary statement and be ready to share with the group. Person number 5. Number 5s, are you ready? Group number F. Group F. Where is Group F? All right, 5 from Group F. Will you please share?
My son Windwolf is 5. He can count and sort. He is culturally different and ready to share his knowledge.
Okay, good. Let's see, let's try another group. Letter B.
Windwolf comes from a culturally rich background. This background enhances his own learning and that of his peers.
Great. So he has a background. It may not be in the language or the same things that some of the other students brought, but he does have a background that is his very own and very meaningful to him, and we as teachers are going to take that background and build on it. And you can see that the father is wanting the teacher to understand that he may not have what the other students have, but what he does have is rich, and what he does have is his culture, and wants that teacher to see that and build on it. Good job. Okay, so we've got, let's do one more. See what, anyone else got anything different? Letter C, table C. Where's C? Table C? Oh, y'all are C. Number 5.
I mean, we were pretty much saying what everybody else said too. I mean,
Anything to add to it?
we were just saying that, we could use his culture maybe to share with the other children. This is how we did our counting. This is
Yeah.
explained. So we're showing the importance of what he's learned, and we're not saying our way is the only way, and that's it.
Right. Not only that, so what you're saying is taking his culture and using it to enrich the other students in the class. Great, great. That's a great message that just, helps us just to see that we all are different, and our language learners, even though they may not speak at first, it doesn't mean that they don't have a wealth of knowledge. It just might not be the same knowledge that you have and the same language that you have. So now look at your text and highlight one line individually that just stood out to you as being very important from that passage. We're going to share this out in a strategy called a whip around. So taking the passage that you just underlined or highlighted as what resonated and was powerful to you, we're going to do a whip around. And for a whip around, all you will do is make your statement or your claim of your opinion, and there's not any room for discussion within the group for this strategy. So we'll start with table person number 1 and just move across, and each person just reads aloud what resonated with them. Any questions? All right, go ahead and begin. All right, whip around is one of our strategies that's in our strategy cards, and you would use it for different times. Sometimes you want to make sure that every person gets to share their thought or opinion, and it's a way that can happen. And for time's sake, to keep the discussion off makes it where it can quickly go through and everybody gets a chance to talk. And what our focus of today is, with so many strategies being introduced to you, is that you will use them with your students so that all students in your classroom get opportunities to engage in speaking and listening every day and multiple times throughout the day. And so we're going to spend a lot of time just modeling strategies for you and then pulling it back and saying how you can use it in your classroom. We are going to challenge you to use every strategy we teach before you come and see us again. And then when you do that, we're going to give you some time to collaborate with same grade level, same content, to discuss how that implementation went and just to give each other some ideas and some feedback. So that was the whip around, and we'll spend some more time when we introduce and do more with the cards with those. But we have a next activity is a letter from a student starting at a university. And so
Yes.
Jamie's going to talk to you about this letter.
So in 2007, when we began with Gradual Release Model, this is a letter that Doug Fisher and Nancy Fry, Carol Rothenberg, they came to our school district and brought this letter from an ESL student that was starting as a freshman at the University of California at Irvine, which is a prestigious college. So I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll discuss this. Dear Mrs. Robin, I really not need Humanity 20 writing class because since time I come to United States, all my friends speak English. Until now, everyone understand me, and I don't need study English. I don't know Vietnam language. I speak only English. I have no communication problem with my friend in dorm. My English teacher in high school, key person to teach me. My teacher explained to me that how important the book was for the student and persuaded me read many book. I get A in English throughout high school and I never take ESL. I agree that some student need class, but you has not made a correct decision, put me in English class. Please do not makes me lose the face. I have confidence in English. So it's apparent that this student is struggling to communicate in writing and did not desire to take the remedial English class as a freshman. What we know about this student is that she graduated with all A's, top of her class, got into this prestigious university, and so she was taken aback. She was surprised that she didn't score very well on the English entrance exam and had to take the remedial class. She was a success story at her high school. And so what would the teaching implications be? What would we need to note as teachers For myself, I'm trained as a high school teacher, and so I automatically think of students that graduated and their level of speaking, reading, writing, and listening English, and were they prepared to then enter into our community as young adults. So discuss at your table, what are the teaching implications of this letter? If you had Van as a student, what was missing? What did we miss with Van? Where would you take her if she came into your class now? Talk real quickly at your table. I'm excited to hear what y'all have to say. Person 4, make sure person 4 has something to say. And this numbered heads together, you always have to check, especially with our students. We would take time, okay, make sure that person number 4 at your table has something to say. And you could even have person number 4 practice, or just ask person number 4 to share with the group. And then you call on the big table with table G. Table letter G, are y'all G? Person 4. What teaching implications
Well,
from
we
this
talked
letter?
about that she has problems with, like idioms and some subject verb agreement.
Yes.
Did sometimes use some more difficult words, so
Mm-hmm.
we talked about that we were surprised that, somebody said they were surprised that she had been able to pass the SATs. Well, it's like multiple choice though, this is writing and you have to use your own words, it's a little bit different.
That's good. So her mistakes are not the mistakes that we would typically see a native English speaker make. They're particular to an English learner. That's great. How about person 4 from table H?
We said also that we felt like she was missing some of those basic grammatical skills and sentence formation, subject-verb agreement, and then we talked about the fact that we weren't sure that one semester in a writing class would be able to fix all of that.
Would be sufficient.
We're talking about years of instruction that
Exactly.
would have to be.
And the reality is that a lot of our English learners, we want to move them up and progress them. We want to see that they are growing one level in their English ability each year. We're seeing that they start to stall out in Springdale, and then they become what we call long-term English learners. Ideally, we would exit our English learners within 5 to 7 years. And so when we were with secondary teachers this morning, we were talking a lot about why aren't they exiting? What are we not doing? And really it comes down to being strategic, being purposeful with Van, with all of our students, knowing what their abilities are in English, and then pushing them to the next level with our help and our support. You can do this. I think I heard this table mention high expectations. They were just pushing her along and letting her, oh, she's a good student, she's motivated. Speaking ability, perhaps her speaking ability, maybe she was nice and motivated. So they did just push her along, and she was passing, doing the work, hard worker. But we have to have high expectations as to ability. Is the proof in the pudding? Here's the product of their instruction. Let's just hear from one more person. How about table E?
We
Person
said
4.
basically the same thing, that the
Right.
implication for learning and education was that, there was something missed.
Yes.
For this student, and that an infusion of ELL training, ELL coursework would have made a big impact
Wonderful.
for this student, and that she has a false sense of confidence. She's able to express what she means, and that's a good thing, but
Yes.
the components of proper English unfortunately are not there, but she has the confidence because of all of her A's in high school.
Exactly.
She's very proficient, and in that sense, we failed her.
Yes. Very good. So that gives us a lot of purpose to what we're doing this afternoon. The strategy cards that you have been given, these were developed by teachers here in our district. And if you'll just take a second to flip through them, you have a copy of the gradual release model on the back of that first copy of the first cover page, and then it's in alphabetical order. There you go.
You're welcome.
Where there's a description, steps, ways to differentiate, and variations of those strategies. What is amazing about having these strategies is that if we can start this in kindergarten and then continue to use these same strategies, our students can quickly access the content and the language because we are engaging them through the strategies. They've got the strategy down. They know what's expected because we're all in Springdale using the same strategies. We've seen that as students progress from school to school, that is true. They've got these strategies. Okay, reciprocal teaching, that's probably one of the hardest strategies to get running in your classroom. But if we can start that young, and then as they progress, they can continue, okay, I know what reciprocal teaching is, or even if I come from a school and I don't know reciprocal teaching, the majority of my classmates do, and I will quickly learn that strategy. So we're going to take some time to look at the strategies that we have already practiced. In your handouts, you have a copy, and I believe it's pink, called Strategy Analysis. And at your tables, you've already numbered off. Let's just take some time and do a little bit of independent work. So person number 1, if you'll take this through for think, write, pair, share. Person 2 for gist. Person 3, golden line. 4, reading and 4 voices. 5, whip around, and 6, the numbered heads together. We'll add that one in, the numbered heads together. This is front back, so there's more space. And what you're going to do is simply jot down your ideas. How does the strategy help students construct understanding of content? 2 things going on in the classroom, content and language. How does the strategy develop academic language? And probably the most important question, how could you use it? So find your strategy in the strategy cards if you need a review of how you do that strategy. And then go through those questions. Once you've finished analyzing the one strategy and you see that others at your table are finished, if you would try a whip around to limit our discussion, try a whip around and share your ideas about how would you apply it in the classroom. So tell the name of your strategy and then that last question. And I encourage you to jot down a few ideas that you hear as you do that whip around. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We hope that you're gaining some great ideas and collaborating. This is the most powerful time, is when we can share different ideas about how to apply them to the classroom. And even as Lynn and I were setting this up, we wanted to engage you as much as possible in those strategies. But then we had to come up with, okay, how are we going to call on people? That numbered heads together really helps. And then how do we bring everyone back? You can do the clapping. If you hear my voice, clap 1 time. If you hear my voice, clap 2 times. Or the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Those are those instructional routines we want you to start thinking about. How am I going to set up my classroom?
Okay, and we're going to go ahead and I want you just to hang on to this pink sheet. And as I said earlier, we want to challenge you to use every strategy we've introduced before we come back. We come back in September. We have 2 dates. It'll either be the 17th or the 18th, so you've got some time to use these strategies and be a reflective teacher. If you came out of the University of Arkansas, I know that you learned to do reflections. And I know some of you that did, I think every university has a plan in place for you all to have reflected as teachers, and reflection is a key component of not only your university program but our test model. And so I want you to be reflective of your strategies, use them, and jot notes that will help colleagues. And we're going to give you a time to come we meet again to talk about, hey, this is what I tried, this is how I used it. And many of you are in different grade levels, and we can talk about how we had to adapt for certain grade levels. So we're going to do that next time. We're going to go ahead and move forward with our gradual release of responsibility model. Raise your hand if you already knew this was a big component of Springdale and that we had a big initiative for it already. Good. So that's probably about over half of you. So the gradual release of responsibility model starts with shows the 2 triangles. The triangle on the left represents the load of the teacher during instruction, and the one on the right shows the student's responsibility. So you can see that from focused instruction, the load is heavy on the teacher. It's the teacher's responsibility to look at the framework, look at the content, and determine what students need to be able to know and be able to do at the end of the unit or the end of the lesson, and determine how they're going to provide that instruction. This better learning addresses the 4 components of gradual release, and we're going to spend some time doing a jigsaw in a little bit to go deeper with each phase. I'm just going to give you a quick little overview of that. But starting with the focused instruction, it's I do it, it's the teacher-led, and it's heavy cognitive load is on the teacher of determining how to present the material. Guided instruction comes along, and the students are doing a little bit of practicing and trying, but the teachers are still there to guide and direct and help question and make sure that they understand, and then even providing instruction as needed. Guided can be done in small groups, and it can also be one-on-one. The collaborative piece is when students work into small groups, and they are, we'll spend a good amount of time teaching you how to put them into groups, how to hold them accountable when they're in groups, and when to use group work. But that's, you do it together. Students are learning from each other, but you as a facilitator are also roving around the room and providing question prompts and cues that extend their thinking, that make sure that they're all engaged and all learning. And then on into independent learning. The ultimate goal is that every thing that you teach, that the students become proficient at doing on their own independently, and so that's when they can launch and go. And a good example of that is riding a bicycle, and the focused part of instruction is where that adult is hanging on, and if they don't do anything, they can lean either way, that bicycle's not going to let them fall because you've got it. And then into the guided, where you can kind of let go a little bit and you can kind of tell that they've got it going straight, but if they start to fall, what do? You grab it and you keep them up so that they can get that guided practice. You're right there by their side when they need you. To collaborative, when they've got friends riding bikes and the friends are going all over the place and they're now following along and going together in groups. To independent, when hey, they can go out to get their bike and ride it to the friend's house all by themselves. And that's where we are going to get them in the end, but it's a process. And we also talked this morning in Better Learning, Jamie's got a page to show you on that's not always linear. You may launch a lesson with a collaborative piece or an independent piece, and then bring them back to the focused instruction to kind of set the stage. With math, sometimes with math, you introduce a new problem by letting them try their strategies, and then you pull them back and let them discuss in their groups how they've solved it, to pulling them back to providing some instruction on. So we're going to spend some time in all the phases and learning when to know when to use what based on the needs of our students. And to do that, we have to be always checking for understanding and determining what their needs are, and then determining the next steps of instruction. And that is why teaching is both an art and a science. I mean, we've done research and we know things that work, but there's still that creative piece that you bring to the classroom with that knowledge, and that's what we're helping you with this. And if you go to the next, we're going to go ahead and do our jigsaw. This is another strategy. This is a strategy that each person will take on some new learning and then bring that learning back to their peers. And so number ones are going to read and focus on the focused instruction. That is pages 4 through 6. Number twos are going to do guided instruction, pages 6 and 7. And you can use sticky notes, highlight in your book, but you're going to be prepared to talk about what does guided instruction look like with your partners. You've got a blue sheet that you will use to record your information on. And when we finish our activity, you will have met with others and have filled in your blue sheet, but starting out, you're just going to do one section. If you're a 3, you're doing collaborative learning, and if you're 4, you're doing independent learning. If you're a 5, you're doing number 1, you're doing focused. If you're a 6, then you're doing guided. Is everybody clear? So what we'll do first is you'll go have time just to work independently, and then we'll get grouped together and you'll share out with someone else and also have someone share with you what they learned. Any questions? All right, go ahead and begin. All right, when you came in your handout, you had either a couch potato card or an aerobic instructor card that looked like this. So what we are going to do is use this strategy called couch potatoes, aerobics instructors, and when you adapt it for your classroom, you can change it up however to make it a way to partner up. But what we're going to do is instead of partnering with anyone at your table, if you're a couch potato, you have to go find an aerobics instructor from another table and share with them what you learned about your area of the focus lesson, and let them share with you what they learned, and then move on and find another partner. When you get to your second partner, they may have 3 squares already filled out, and if they do, they'll have 2 squares filled out, and then they can tell you what they learned from a different partner until we get complete and get it all filled out. So I'm going to let you switch partners as soon as you're done, because we'll all finish at different times. So go ahead and stand and find someone from another table with a different card as a match and do your... All right, let's go ahead and find your way back to your seats. All right, finish that thought. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we just did one more strategy, the couch potato aerobics instructor. Add that one to your strategy analysis sheet. And I will challenge you to be creative in finding, you can find other terms to let the students become. And think of some, maybe it could align to what you're studying. If you're studying animals, it might be that they could be a certain one animal and another animal. And you could use the concept of one that doesn't move as much, and that one could stay seated, and then the other partners could be roaming the room, just have half get up and move to the others that are sitting. But jot that one down and have that on your list of ones to go and implement, to come back and share in September.
And so with that overview of GRR, we also want to consider how we have learned in classrooms, outside of the classroom, and I imagine a lot of us have sat in classrooms like this, where the model looks like focused instruction. The teacher does a lot of I do it, here's how you do this math problem. And then it jumps to independent learning. Okay, page 235, odd numbers, and go ahead and get started on that. So that's a setup for a lot of instructors traditionally, especially with math. It seems like where there's a focused instruction and okay, now you do it. If you add in, it's pretty simple to add in some guided instruction where you are then meeting with some you're meeting with some groups and guiding their instruction through those problems. And then perhaps students are then collaborating at the same time instead of just working independently. So the paradigm shift is not too huge, but we want to avoid the extreme. Here's another extreme. Have you been in a classroom where you were just given the work? You were given the material, given the assignments, and okay, just complete it. So perhaps in a university setting where here's the syllabus, read this, answer these questions. But there's no teacher model. Perhaps you've had that learning experience. This is probably the most common omission, is to take out the collaborative piece. And that is what we have seen a lot with traditional Madeline Hunter from the university. Sometimes we forget about that collaborative piece, and that students need that interaction to create understanding. They truly help one another as they are learning to construct the meaning. And so thinking about, okay, that collaborative piece, how strong am I as an instructor in setting up times for my students to collaborate? Going to give you some time to think about your own learning style. Are you someone that likes to learn just independently, or do you need that model to show you how to do something? So this question, what is a skill that you're confident in your ability to do? How did you learn this skill? And what phases of the gradual release of responsibility model were essential for you? As a model for you, a couple weeks ago I went to Painting with a Twist in Fayetteville, and this is my artwork. I am not an artist. Went with some friends, and there's an instructor at the front of the room with a blank canvas as well. They have it all set out for you. So this was blank. There was nothing was traced on it. If you ask me to draw a stick person or a person, it will just be a stick person. I'm having a craft night tonight at my house, and my plan is to organize my pantry. I just don't do crafts or paint or anything like that. So how did I do this? With his model, and then some guided instruction. He would come around and check in with us. How you doing? He helped me mix my paint a little bit for the leaves, and we had to really have some guided instruction on these birds. And then collaborative piece. I was there with my friends, and so, okay, what are you doing? How did you get your leaves to look like that? How are we supposed to do these branches? The collaborative piece was key. Actually, the whole thing, had he not been there, we would have been lost. And then the independent. I probably am not ready to show you how to do this. I'm amazed that at the end of the night, I even walked out with something that kind of looks like a tree. So I'm not there yet with the independent phase, but I needed all of those pieces to get me there. So think for a second, take a moment, and jot down. Think of something that you are confident in your ability to do, and what phases of the gradual release model were essential for you. How did you learn that skill? Take a couple minutes, and then this will be a think, pair, share. This is one of those opportunities where you can brag on your neighbor. Did anyone hear of someone who is good at something? So brag on them a little bit and share how they learned it. Share a little bit about that discussion you had with your partner. Yes?
She is really good at algebra,
Okay.
and she said she learned it from a teacher who did this. I do it, we do it.
Awesome.
So I guess her teacher.
Wonderful. Did she do collaborative too?
All of it. She did it all.
Great. Was that here in Springdale?
No,
Okay.
But it was Arkansas school.
Yay. Wonderful.
She's a good singer. But she was told opposite. She started out doing it independently and then had a teacher that
Yes.
did guided. So opposite extremes.
That's good. Yeah, and remember, it's not a linear process. It may generally follow that focus lesson, but it's great. The more that we can be in and out of those phases of instruction, just being responsive to student needs. Someone else to brag.
John plays the guitar, and he learned from his dad, and so that would be the I do it. And then he had guided instruction along with the collaborative piece with other guitar players, and so then he independently played in front of people.
Wonderful. Great. One more brag.
I thought hers was great because it demonstrated it perfectly.
Okay.
She said cooking, and at first she said she watched her mom cook, and then she helped her do parts of the cooking like the stirring and stuff. Then she cooked part of the meal and her mom cooked the other part. And then now she cooks for me. She's a good girl.
Wonderful. Great. And so this is just a good way for us to reflect as learners. If we tend to just want to learn it on our own, we need to realize that our students will need all those different phases. It's very few and far between the student that can just learn it all by his or herself. If you will, go ahead and turn in your book to page 138. There's 4 pages, 148 to 141, and it's the gradual release of responsibility quality indicators. So this, we want for you to have some personal reflection time, simply to go through, read the quality indicator, and put a check mark in the box that you think generally describes the majority of your lessons or how you tend to instruct. Okay, so speaking really generally, because what we're trying to do is then measure your growth as we progress through this semester to see, okay, can I bring my skill level up in this area? For example, as I get down to guided instruction, the quality indicator teacher scaffolds support for students using questions, prompts, and cues. And then I read through those descriptors. It's honestly, as a secondary teacher, time is of the essence. I only have my students for 50 minutes. I'm very guilty of even being quite minimal in my questioning. And so that would be a spot where I would give myself a low check. And that is fine. We're just trying to hopefully show that you have progressed this semester and heighten your awareness of these different descriptors. So go ahead and spend some time going through these 4 pages and putting a check mark beside those descriptors that you think generally describe your lessons. We're going to move into a 10-minute break, and as you're finishing that rubric, I also want to point out one more thing in your handouts. Just as the gradual release model is fresh on your mind, this yellow handout, this is going to be homework, a takeaway. Just before September, we're asking for you to read this book and jot down notes using this graphic organizer. And then you'll bring that in September as we further discuss this book, and then we will be moving into our next book, which is noted on your agenda. I believe it's the guided instruction book. And so we'll have a 10-minute break now, and we'll be ready to go at 1:45. Okay. We're going to show you some resources now. So that was our just overview of GRR, and now we'll move into these resources that we think will be invaluable as you get started this school year. One of the things we want to show you is that you can access the strategy cards online, and that is handy in case you are planning at home and you don't have your ream of strategy cards with you. You can go to springdaleschools.org and go staff and then ESOL program down. And then teacher resources. And then there is are the strategy cards as well as the ELDT that we're about to talk about. So it pulls it all up for you.
So if you're at home and you don't have them with you, know that you can always have them, access them online. You can even save them to your computer if you want to not keep looking for them on the website.
Very good.
Professional development.
Sure. While we have the computer up, we want to show you also how to log on to the professional development website.
If you are brand new to Springdale, and all of you are, first of all, as you go and do professional development outside of your building, anything that's outside of your building will always probably have a sign-in sheet like we did today, but there isn't anyone that enters that in for you. If you leave your building and go to a training and sign a sign-in sheet, please don't think that that means that it got entered in and counted. It doesn't count till you enter it in on our website. And before anyone, but in your building, some buildings have a person who will enter in what you do in your building. And I'm that person for my building, and when I go in and I have brand new teachers, before I can put them in and count them as coming, they have to first go in and log in to this website. So I want to show you what you can do as soon as you have a Springdale email. Okay, you go to this right here where it says login, and once you've logged in to the system, then you will show up and you can go ahead and put what building you're in and what your position is, and then you'll show up on a roster when we go in and do professional development from your building.
And that website is workshops.springdaleschools.org.
So you can access it two ways. You can type in the IP address that Jamie gave you, or you can go through the district page by going through staff and then over to professional development. And then on the professional development tab, there's one tab that says calendar, and we'll send an email out once the professional development department puts the dates that we gave you out on the page, and you'll need to go in and you'll need to sign in. Click on, like it'll look like this, only it'll be our training, and it'll be on the date that is on your handout that we gave you for the agenda. You'll just click on it and register. So you can just log in right here, log in and register. And we'll need all of you to register for that. There's two groups going on right now, secondary and elementary. We're opening up both days, and first come, first serve till one fills up. And then after that, you'll automatically have to come to the other date. So as soon as we send that out, if there's a certain date that better fits you, be sure and go ahead and sign up for that. It's just a little bit of housekeeping to kind of make sure everyone knows how to navigate that.
Very good. If you will now, look at your ELDT. We're going to spend some time looking at this. This is a resource that was developed here in Springdale. It aligns with our students. All of our English learners take the ELDT exam, English Language Development Assessment, in the spring. And from that exam, that is where we get the different levels that our students are, their proficiency levels 1 through 5. And the ELDT helps us in planning. It's a great tool for differentiation. And okay, what should I do for my students? If they are a level 2 in writing, what steps can I take? It gives all students access to the curriculum and will ultimately help develop the language of our L's. This really aligns perfectly with tests and how you can provide evidence for reaching all of your students by using this tool. So I wanted to show you a couple of things before we jump into a scavenger hunt. Later, when you get back to your buildings, you can cut these out. We don't have good scissors here, but this is a quick reference guide in the back. And what's handy about that is you can pull up, okay, my student is a level 3 in listening, and that then tells you what the student can hear and understand and what the student needs. How you can further that student and push them to grow up to a level 4. And so, again, I've said this already, but we want to move our students to the next level. And so back here, you will see, I'm going to look at reading level 2. Reading level 2, that's on page 27. This tells me in gray what the student is capable of, but that is what they've already proven that they can do on the assessment. So actually, I need to look at level 3 to then push that student forward. So, you know, teaching being an art and a science, we need to address, okay, what are they capable of? But then we're going to have to see and play around a little bit to really nail down how capable is that student in reading. So on that one assessment that they took in April, they may show that they are level 2. But then in your class, what are they capable of? Can you push them higher? So that in gray shows what they're capable of, and then there are instructional routines underneath that. Those are ideas, and they align also to the strategy cards of things that we need to do in the classroom to then push that student along with language and their language development. So in your handouts, you have a scavenger hunt, just to get you into the ELDT. And it's just a few questions. So we're going to give you time to work independently to get into that ELDT. And you can write on that scavenger hunt as you find the answers. As you finish, you may just want to double check your responses with your neighbor, but I wanted for you to have some time to talk about how you really think you might use this tool. What that means is, okay, at the beginning of the school year, you'll be given data about all of your English learners. It will be broken down into, this is their ability with reading, writing, speaking, and listening, as well as a composite score, and that's just an average score. And that's what you hear when your principal says we have 80% ELL 3s and 4s. Like we have a lot of students that could exit the ESL program. So that's that combination number. But what we as teachers will do is then break down, okay, I know that Jose Martinez is a level 1 with reading and writing, but his speaking and listening ability is a level 3. He's got a lot of the oral proficiency down. really just to focus on reading and writing. I need to continue to bring up his speaking and listening. So, how will you as a teacher, what steps will you take to then be strategic using this ELDT? If you have the data, what's your next step going to be? Some teachers write their students' names on Post-it notes and stick them on their ELDT, and then throughout the year they're moving their students up in the various domains. So you have to think, okay, I've got all my students and then these 4 domains, so you'd have 4 Post-it notes. So I'll give you a second just to turn to your shoulder partner and talk about what do you think you might do with your ELDT.
Okay. If you are a kindergarten teacher, raise your hand. Kindergarten teachers, preschool teachers, keep your hands up. Kindergarten, preschool, kindergarten, both, raise your hands. Okay, that's quite a few people. Okay, put your hands down. I want to explain to you differences in language assessments and why we use what we use with those 2 grade levels in particular. The ELDT test is a state test from the state of Arkansas, and it has a testing window in the spring only when we can administer it. It's only administered to current kindergarten students through 12th grade students only. So in Springdale, we have to have another way to test our incoming students that are either preschool students or brand new to our district and they weren't in an Arkansas school and did not take the ELDT last year. So we use another test called the MAC2 test. And that one, it will be administered if you're a pre-K teacher. Sometime this fall, your kids will come over to the ESL department with their families and they will take that test, and that information will come back to you and you'll have a level for them. And also kindergarten, they probably already have done this if they enrolled in the spring. If they haven't, there might be some kindergarten students that are new enrolled that will also be coming to the ESL center and getting that test and then getting a score back to you. This ELDT was written and we utilized the descriptors from the ELDA test, which doesn't 100% align to the MAC. So when you see a student that is you've got 2 kindergarten students and one of them was, say, retained. And so that one may have taken the ELDA the year before, and another kindergarten student just enrolled and they went and took the MAC. The MAC comes out maybe a little bit higher than what you're going to see on the ELDA. So when you're taking MAC scores and looking here, you are going to see maybe that they're more like an ELDA 1 when MAC says they're a 2 or a 3. So just know that as kindergarten teachers, that to take that and kind of look, and you'll know your students as you spend more time with them, look at the level 1s and just to say, is this about where they are, or are they a 2, and kind of use some of that, which will help you as you move towards ELDA in the spring, which K1 and 2 is done by a teacher inventory rather than students taking a written test. And so you as K1 and 2 teachers in the spring will be given a survey to fill out on all of your students. So by using this, it'll help you to prepare for that survey and help you get to know them and know their language needs.
For the MAC, is there like a resource somewhere out there that that would like explain the scores, like break them down, kind of like the ELDT does with
There is on the sheet that you get from the ESL department, in the square where it says what level they are, there's a little bit of a descriptor in that. There's some resources online. As far as the district having anything, we haven't produced anything.
Is it MAC or?
Yes, it's just MAC and then 2, like Roman numeral 2. So
I think some good discussion. I just want to make sure we collaborate a little bit about how you intend on using the ELDT. So let's do our numbered heads together and hear some of those ideas.
Okay, person number 3 at every table. Do you need time to talk and prepare? Okay, go ahead and talk at your tables and be ready to answer for your table.
Okay, let's share out a little bit. I heard some of you have already been sold that this is the best tool ever. That is so exciting. So let's hear from person 3 at table E.
Okay, so we talked about being able to use the strategies listed with the strategy cards. And Stacy had the wonderful idea of using your data from the year before and knowing which kids and already having that organized and planned out and ready to go before you got the kids and everything.
You know which numbers they're at, so you can be looking
Right.
for those ones, you can be looking for those fives.
And your ESL teacher will be your resource to get that information, and will have it and be able to help you see how you can get it for yourself, and they can help get it for you.
Right. And your instructional facilitators.
Okay, so
Yes.
I don't know how we know our ESL.
Your
Right.
literacy facilitator work as ESL facilitators and literacy, so yes.
Mm-hmm. Let's hear person 3 from table H.
Okay, we talked about a few different things. One thing is that just as specialist teachers, because she's a vision therapist, she could use some of these same strategies in her small groups and could have conversations with the teacher about the growth of her students according to this chart. Use it as a growth model, and then we also talked about if you've got a new student that comes in, this gives you a starting point for that new student.
Right.
To know where to move them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's wonderful. And how about group B?
We pretty much said about the same, but we really like the idea of being able to find those students in the beginning and being able to know what strategies to use with them and to follow along to get them to improve throughout the year.
Wonderful. And just remember, we want to move them one level each year within each domain. That should be our goal. Wonderful.
And I just want to add with that, to not think that when they're making, errors in their speech, that to just let some things go by and not hold them accountable to a higher level, and like the van story. But just
Yes.
repeat back. It's great when you have that chance, when in sometimes not even academic situations, when they're just communicating with you and they make a natural error, to be able to just stop right there and just help them. Sometimes in the primary grades, the he, she is hard for them, and just saying, oh, you mean she? Yes, she is going to get the book. But just being able to take those teachable moments and just have a quick little time to just reiterate correct things for them and just hold them accountable.
We're going to move and take a look at our article. It's entitled The First 20 Days. If you'll locate that.
Color, it's the color copy. Do you have one here?
I'm not sure.
Right here.
Yes.
It doesn't have the title on it, but it's a colored handout that looks like this. The First 20 Days.
And we encourage you, this is going to be a great resource for you to really think about those instructional routines you want to put in place to have students collaborate and to increase the amount of accountable academic talk in your classroom. So we're going to do another jigsaw, and if you would number off, let's see, so 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6 will be 1, 2, 3 as well. And the ones, if you'll read the spotlight on lessons on personal responsibility. The number 2s, read pages 5 and 7, the spotlight on respectful discourse. And pages 7 through 9 will be for number 3s. So again, 1, 2, 3, and if you are a 4, 5, 6, just be a 1, 2, 3. Take a second to read that.
All right, let's pull back together. And I was just talking with this group on setting those routines into place. I know that on your mind, I know when I first begin a school year, the first thing on the mind is getting that room arranged and getting that all in place and getting all the materials ready. And then it moves to, okay, now what? What do I do? And we hope that this First 20 Days tool will help you put the structures in place to have your classroom environment be one that has students managing each other's behavior and helping each other with their learning. 6% of test standards address students' interactions with each other. And in a distinguished teacher's classroom, you will see students saying to one another, oh, we can't talk right now if one starts to talk, or to say, oh, we can't work on this right now, we should be doing this, or do you need help with this, can I help you? And students being able to manage their own behaviors and assist each other in their learning. And so we want you to be able to set that stage in your classroom, and it begins the first day of school, and you have to spend a lot of time. This group over here was talking about, before I can go down and pull in pre-K, have guided groups going on, I have to work at managing them when they go into their stations within the whole group. And that's absolutely true. It's a process of releasing and being able to have that time with a small group. You can't do that until everybody else knows how to manage themselves with where they are, and that takes you proctoring and moving around and training them to do so. So we hope that this tool will help you, and you can spend some time reading the sections that you didn't read today. Hopefully the preview you got from your peers will help and get you excited about what is there to read. So
We're going to just do a few more reflection activities. I want for you to find this handout, and on the back side, just being strategic in this, because this is going to be your takeaway homework. And on the back side of this, let's complete this statement, because this will be something that you'll want to take with you. The first 20 days of school, I will, what are those routines that you need to first determine and then put into place with your students? You can make a list out. This is for you to take away. So that is your to-do list of sorts. And we really just encourage you. You are the best person for your students. That means that you've got the chance to set up your classroom for all those little vans. That student that we read that letter from, they need you, and they deserve the best. So we're all in this together. We do our best to figure out how we need to serve our students. Know that Lynn and I are resources, and you've got instructional facilitators, assistant principals, colleagues there at your school. You are not alone in this process. So that's your to-do list. This is a way to communicate back to us. You've got a stack of these cards there at your table. So if you'll take one of those cards, and on it, if you'll write your name, your current email address. So if you don't have a Springdale address, give us your other email address so we have a way to contact you. Your school, what you think you might be teaching if you know your assignment. And then we just want to hear back from you about the content that was presented today. What do you wish, wonder, and what is something you are going to do? So you'll complete those statements. I wish, I wonder, and I will. Think about gradual release. The tools we've showed you for ESL students. And it's okay to still have questions. This was 3 hours, which is not nearly enough time. So to review, following today, you will need to register for the following days, the 4 content days, 1 in September, October, November, and December. Those haven't opened yet on the calendar, and we hope to send an email out as soon as it does open up on the calendar. So again, you'll need to choose your days, reading that textbook, Better Learning Through Structured Teaching, and completing your graphic organizer before the September dates together.
And
Okay.
then within your classroom, you have your strategies that we've introduced and to take and try them and then be prepared to come back and talk in your grade level groups about those strategies, your experience, which ones worked for what purposes, how did it go? Yes?
I was wondering, because I am an out-of-state, if anybody else in here was getting ready to take Arkansas history this year at some point?
Oh, look.
Already doing it. It's on ideas. You just go in and you push courses, and then you do all of the things underneath that course. And it's
Go
free.
what? Where?
All the ideas.
It's free?
Arkansas Ideas.
It's where you have to go to take the maltreatment
Mhm.
and the parental involvement.
That takes care of Arkansas history?
Yes. You have, well, it's an Arkansas history course. It's under the same thing as the maltreatment and the parent involvement.
This is good news.
So y'all will need to connect afterwards and talk.
But it's a long and tedious process.
Okay, she's gonna stay here. She'll wait for you.
Thank you all so much for your time today. Yep.
Thank you.
We appreciate your work.
Thank you for choosing Springdale, and we look forward to having you back.